Hello, my dear friends. May the peace of the Lord be there, gently knocking on the door of your heart. Come closer, grab a coffee, sit here with me. I am your fellow believer, and today I've come to tell a story that really touches you, you know? It speaks of long silences, of grudges that take deep root, and of how God writes straight with lines that, to us, seem too crooked. Today's story is about Anselmo, his wife Laura, and young Tiago, and it's about a song, a simple viola song that carried hatred, resentment, but which in the end it was the key to their salvation. Imagine Anselmo's house, an old farmhouse with tall windows and the smell of wood and thyme. But lately, the smell was different. It was a smell of mold, of something stagnant, of silence. Anselmo was a good man, a man of the land with calloused hands and few words. He had inherited that farm from his father Bento, a man who, to Anselmo, was a giant. And perhaps that was the problem. Anselmo lived in his father's shadow, and now the shadow was winning. The drought had ravaged the land for 3 years straight. What didn't dry in the sun, the plague ate. And what the plague didn't eat, the bank interest took. The farm, Anselmo's pride, was slipping through his fingers like dry sand. Laura, the wife, was the beam that tried to hold up the roof. A woman of small but stubborn faith. The kind of faith that cries in secret in her room, that bends her knee on the cold floor at dawn, but that in the morning appears with brewed coffee and a good morning that tries to sound like hope. Young Tiago the son saw everything. As a teenager, he could feel the pressure in the air. He felt his father closing in like an armadillo, each day grayer, each day more distant. The debt wasn't just money, you know. It was a debt of honor. Anselmo felt he was failing his father's legacy. He looked at the portrait of his father Bento on the living room wall, that firm gaze, the thick mustache, and felt ashamed. The bailiff had come last week. He left the paper. Cold, bureaucratic. The notification. The auction. They had 30 days. 30 days for a miracle, or for complete ruin. The conversation at dinner had vanished. The only sound was the scraping of the fork on the almost empty plate. Laura tried. Anselmo, we'll figure it out. God will. But Anselmo stood up. God seems to have forgotten this place, Laura. His voice was low, drawn out. The pain of a man who sees his world crumble isn't noisy, my friends. It's a heavy silence. A suffocating silence. They were trapped. Trapped in the drought. Trapped in the debts. Trapped in Anselmo's wounded pride. Ruin wasn't knocking at the door. It had already entered, taken off its shoes, and sat on the living room sofa. And now, looking at that abyss, with the deadline ticking away, the question that echoed in that silent house was only one. Where would help come from? And the days began to drag on. You know when time seems to get sick? It doesn't pass, it accumulates. Each morning was a burden. The sun rose strong, hot, mocking the dry earth. Anselmo woke up before everyone else, but he no longer went to the fields. Why bother? He wandered around the house. He looked at the fallen fences, the empty corral. The cattle? They had been sold. The last ones for next to nothing, just to pay the interest that kept growing. Laura continued her prayer routine. She picked up her worn Bible, sat on the porch, and read. But even her voice seemed tired. The faith was there, but I was exhausted, like a soldier fighting for too long without seeing any sign of cavalry. Tiago tried to help. He looked for work in the neighboring town, anything. But the crisis was widespread. The drought affected everyone. He would return home at the end of the afternoon, his face covered in dust and his hands empty. And the worst part was his father's silence. Anselmo no longer spoke about the future. He no longer spoke about the past. He just existed. He would sit in the rocking chair that had belonged to his father and stay there, staring into nothingness. His pride was broken, but it had turned into a hard shell of bitterness. He wouldn't accept help. He wouldn't accept comfort. He was in his own private desert. And my friends, is there a more arid desert than the heart of a man who has lost hope? More letters arrived from the bank. Harsh language, deadlines. The auction was scheduled. The 15th, 2 weeks to go. Laura looked at Anselmo, the paper trembling in her hand. Anselmo, what now? He just shook his head. That night, Laura cried. A low, restrained cry so Tiago wouldn't hear. But Tiago heard. He was in the next room, and that sound. The sound of the woman who was the strength of the house crumbling. It broke the young man's heart. The waiting. The waiting. It grinds you down. It tests every fiber of your faith. Have you ever experienced waiting like that? Waiting that feels like God has put the clock on mute? That's how they lived. Each day was a small death. Hope dwindled like the moon in the sky. And the auction deadline approached, relentless as the midday sun. It seemed there was nowhere left to run. The end of the line had arrived. 1 week remained until the auction. 1 week. The air in the house was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Dust accumulated on the furniture which they no longer had the energy to clean. On that grey, stifling Tuesday afternoon, Laura decided she needed to do something. They couldn't hand over the house, the legacy, in that state. Let's tidy up your father's office, Anselmo. Dust it. If we have to leave, let's leave with dignity. So Bento's office had been locked since he passed away years ago. Anselmo swallowed hard. That room was a sanctuary, or a mausoleum. He picked up the bunch of rusty keys. The door creaked. The smell of old paper, tanned leather, and rolled tobacco, which Dad liked, was still there. Faint, but it was there. It was like stepping into the past. Boxes and more boxes of old papers, accounting books, and dust, lots of dust. Tiago helped, sneezing. Anselmo moved like an automaton. He just wanted to get it over with. He opened the drawer of the large rosewood desk, and there at the back, under some old farm maps, he saw it. It was a small dark wooden box. Simple, unadorned, but it was locked. He forced it. Nothing. Nonsense, he murmured. It must be some old thing from Dad. He put the box aside, on top of the pile of things to throw away. But Laura, she had a different perspective. She saw things that men in their haste don't see. She picked up the box. It was heavy for its size. She felt something. Curiosity. She spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning, but with her mind on the box. Later that same night, she was tidying the master bedroom. She went to put away her Bento's Bible, which was on the bedside table. As she opened it to adjust the ribbon bookmark, something fell to the floor. A metallic click on the wooden floor. It was a key. A small brass key, already somewhat greenish with age. It wasn't a door key. It wasn't a common padlock key. It was a delicate furniture key. Laura's heart skipped a beat. She didn't say anything to Anselmo. He was too bitter, he wouldn't listen. She put the key in her apron pocket. The first sign. Subtle. A locked box and a lost key. What could old Bento have kept so carefully? The night dragged on. Laura barely slept. The key in the pocket of her apron, hanging behind the door, felt like it weighed a ton. Before sunrise, while Anselmo was still fast asleep, exhausted, she got up. Bare feet on the cold floor. She went to the office. The box was there on top of the trash pile. Her hands trembled slightly. She picked up the small brass key, took a deep breath, put it in the tiny lock, turned it, and click, a soft sound. The box unlocked. Laura opened the lid. Her heart pounded. She expected. What? Land titles? Some hidden money? No. What she saw was disappointing. Inside the box, lined with red velvet already eaten by moths, there were only two things. A small, very old bank notebook. The bank's name was almost illegible. Banco do Val Dourado, Golden Valley Bank. A bank that no longer existed, having been bought by another and then another. The notebook was empty, with no balance recorded. It seemed useless. And next to it, a single sheet of paper, carefully folded, yellowed. Laura opened it. It was sheet music, a handwritten piece of music with meticulous lyrics by her Bento. The title of the song was O Val Dourado, the Golden Valley. Laura frowned. What kind of inheritance was this? An old notebook and a piece of music. She was about to close the box when Anselmo appeared in the doorway. He had woken up, didn't see her in bed, and went to look for her. He saw the open box. He saw the sheet music in her hand. And Anselmo's face, my friends. It transformed. The weariness gave way to a cold rage, a bitterness that rose from the depths of his soul. That music, he spat the word. His voice was a low growl. Throw it away, throw it all away. Laura was startled. Anselmo, what's wrong? It's just a song your father. It's the song he wouldn't stop whistling. Anselmo interrupted her. The song he played on his old guitar on the day. On the day. He stopped. The pain was visible. He took the sheet music from Laura's hand and crumpled it. I don't want to see this. This isn't an inheritance. It's a mockery. He threw the crumpled paper into the corner and left the office, slamming the door. Laura remained there, alone, in the dusty office. She looked at the bank ledger. Golden Valley Bank. And she looked at the crumpled sheet music on the floor. The Golden Valley. A connection. Weak, mysterious. But it was a connection. Why did Anselmo hate that melody so much? And why would Bento keep that particular piece of music with the same name as the bank inside a locked box? The day of the auction arrived, like a sentence. The sun rose, but no one in the house noticed. The silence was like that of a wake. At 10 in the morning, the bank's car would arrive. Laura had retrieved the crumpled sheet music from the floor. She smoothed it out and put it away with the notebook. She and Tiago had spent the previous night awake. The young man, tech-savvy, had done his research. The Banco do Val Dourado had been absorbed by a larger digital bank, but the old inactive account still existed in a legacy system. They accessed the old portal. It asked for the account number, which was in the notebook, and a password. A password. Tiago tried Bento's name, Anselmo's name, the date of birth. Nothing. Access denied. Anselmo entered the kitchen. He looked like a ghost. His eyes were sunken. It's no use, Laura, it's over. Laura looked at him, her eyes filled with desperate urgency. And she asked, Anselmo, for God's sake, why do you hate that song so much? What happened the day your father played it? Anselmo slumped into his chair. The barrier of pride, of silence, finally broke. And he cried. A dry, manly cry. It was the day your grandmother, my mother, died, he said, his voice choked. I was a boy. She had been sick for days and she was gone. And my father took the guitar and stood on the porch playing that song, The Golden Valley. I hated it. I hated him. I thought he didn't care. I thought he was happy. I've hated that song ever since. Laura and Tiago looked at each other. The revelation was a shock. Laura picked up the sheet music. Her hands trembled. She looked at Bento's lyrics. And there at the bottom of the page, in tiny, almost faded handwriting, was a note. It wasn't part of the music, it was a dedication. It read, For Clara, my eternal Golden Valley. The password is the day we meet. The name of Anselmo's mother. It was Clara. The music wasn't about joy. It was a tribute, a farewell. Bento's way of dealing with the pain. And Anselmo. Anselmo had misunderstood everything. His hatred was the fruit of childhood pain, of a poorly understood grief. Anselmo, said Laura, her voice choked with emotion. The password. The day we met. You know what day it was? Anselmo, stunned by the confession and the discovery, hesitated. He wiped his eyes. They always told me. On the day of the harvest festival, my father, he poured wine on it. It was October 24th. Tiago rushed to the computer. The bank's portal was still open. Access denied. It was minutes before 10 o'clock. Tiago typed 2410. He pressed enter. Invalid password. Try the year. Laura shouted 241019. Anselmo couldn't remember the year. No, said Tiago. He looked at the sheet music. There were 4 numbers circled in pencil above the first notes. 4752. Try 24104752, said Anselmo. Invalid password. And then Tiago looked at the note again. The password is the day we meet. He typed with quick fingers. TINTEEFUATRODEOUTUBRO. The whole word. And he pressed enter. The screen flashed and loaded. Access granted. Bento and Clara's account. An investment fund. Untouched for 30 years. The amount was more than enough. It paid off the debt. It paid off the debt 10 times over. They looked at each other. The bank car stopped at the gate. Anselmo picked up the phone. The inheritance wasn't just money. It was forgiveness. It was the truth. Salvation was hidden behind Anselmo's greatest pain, locked away by the music he hated most. Reflective, calm tone. My friends, what a mess, isn't it? How many times in our lives are we like Anselmo? We hold on to a grudge, a resentment, a poorly understood pain. We hate a song from our past. It might be the memory of a loss, a failure, a harsh word we heard, and we avoid that memory. We lock that door. We blame the song for the pain we feel. And meanwhile, God, in His infinite wisdom, which is far greater than ours, often hides our greatest blessing, our inheritance, precisely behind that door we refuse to open. Anselmo's father, Bento, knew. He knew his son was proud, that his son had been hurt. He left the key, but it wasn't an easy key. The key was humility. The key was forgiveness. Anselmo's salvation didn't come only when he entered the password at the bank. It began to come the moment he allowed himself to be vulnerable. The moment he cried in front of his wife and son and confessed the pain he had kept since childhood. It took breaking his pride. It took the pain of ruin being greater than the pain of memory. And only then could he see the music he hated wasn't about disrespect. It was about love. It was about longing. It was a husband's tribute to his departed wife. How many of us are waiting for a miracle, gazing to the sky while the answer lies in a dusty box in the office of our hearts? In a memory we need to revisit, not with hatred, but with forgiveness. God's timing is perfect. He waited for Anselmo to be ready. Not ready to be rich, but ready to be healed. The financial inheritance was just a consequence of the healing of his soul. And you? Is there any song you've hated in your life? Any memory you blame? Any forgiveness you refuse to give to yourself or to another? Think about it. Perhaps the key to your blessing, to your peace, is hidden right there. I really want to know how you felt listening to this story. Faith is a journey we walk together. Leave a comment below. What was the most difficult weight you've ever faced? How did you see God's hand in the details, perhaps in details that at first seemed bad? Share your story of faith with us. Let's build this community of hope. If this story touched your heart, leave a like. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our conversations. And may God bless your week with the certainty that even in the most difficult memories, He may be hiding the key to your greatest inheritance. May God be with you all until our next meeting.